The Edify Show with special guest Viv Leacock. And now, the host of The Edify Show, Elliott. Hi
everyone, welcome to Hearties TV Tuesday on The Edify Show. Today we have an interview with Viv Leacock, aka Joseph Canfield. You know what, in my life, I don't think I've ever met anyone so like their character as Viv is to Joseph Canfield. Viv is he's just an incredibly kind, caring individual. He's just deep and just very heartfelt. And I enjoy every time I get to see him. And this time I was with him on the set. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's take a look. Viv, thanks so much for coming on. I'm so excited to just chat with you. You know, the thing I think about, you ever see the movie The Irishman? Yeah. The Joe Pesci character where it just seemed like he was kind of behind the scenes, but sort of working everything out. I feel like that's what you are for the Canadian acting community, right? Like everybody I talk to, I'm gonna try to have somebody put something together and just roll all the nice things that people say about you.
Wow.
Behind, like how many people did you know on this set before you got to this set?
Yeah, quite a few. Like I was saying, Martin Cummings is my neighbor for years. Kevin and I go way back. Pascal and I go way back. I was on Chris's first gig. His first gig.
Chris McNally?
Chris McNally's first gig. First or second gig. It was when he was baby-faced 18-year-old. I met Chris McNally, and he reminded me that I was very nice to him because he was very nervous on his first gig. And I was like, oh, good. I'm glad that all worked out because here we are years later, and my man is on top, so... Yeah. There's a lot of people on the set. Johanna, I've known Johanna for years.
She's one of them. She's definitely one of the clips that sort of played. Peter DeLuise, I know.
Yeah.
Helped get your daughter on the show.
Peter and I met Peter DeLuise when I was 13 years old because my older brother Richard is an actor and did like 9 episodes of 21 Jump Street with Peter. So Peter's at my house when I was a kid. Like I've known him forever. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. You're like an institution. I just keep thinking. Well, I know that just because they imagine they're like, look, whatever Viv says, can we agree? Whatever Viv says, we're gonna all agree, right?
I could sort it out.
Yeah, because tell me if I'm wrong. I think you wanted to be an actor. Not because it would be, I might be wrong, but to pretend to be but to affect people. That seems like that describes you, that you want to affect people.
You're very correct. So I actually had a bit of a stand-up career because that was my first love. So I went after stand-up comedy. Acting came to find me first when I was about 17, but I was like, I didn't have the patience for acting because I wanted to pursue something else. So I went after being a stand-up comedian, and I was out there for a couple of years, and I met all the guys that are huge now. All the guys that are big now, I met all those guys back in the day. And what I discovered is there is a huge difference between them and me. And it wasn't that we both couldn't be funny, or they're funny in a different way. It's their perception of themselves was so different than my perception of myself.
Interesting.
I wasn't doing stand-up for some cathartic reason why I had to fix something that was wrong with me, or I didn't have self-esteem or low self-esteem. That's not the deal. I just love making people laugh.
Right.
That makes me feel really good. It wasn't about like so many of these cats they'd be joking about themselves. You get a comedian who's like, oh, I can't get a date because and they just go down a list of all the things wrong with them. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't share that. There's a darkness to a lot of comedians that I don't have. And so I was like, I'm not really a stand-up comedian. And then on the flip side of things with acting, you come and there's actors who are like so precious about everything that has to do with acting and they can't see past themselves. And again, what? Like, it's not about that. It's like, there's an audience. This is what I say acting is about. This is what I tell my kids. We are people that are able to stand up in front of a crowd of folks and not shake ourselves to death with our own nerves, because we can do this. I can stand up in front of 1,000 people and talk, and I'm not gonna fall down. It is people's worst fear. Public speech, their worst fear. They would rather die and do it. And it's a thing that I actually don't understand. I've never been shy, so I'm just like, what? I don't get it. So here I am, someone that can stand in front of people and talk, and I can stand in front of people and make them laugh. That's my job. And I look at it as such, and I think it's a privilege that I can do this, given that there are people who can't. And I'm here to help anybody who's out there working jobs where they're saving lives and saving this and doing that and digging ditches. They need a break. And I'm one of the people that can help them unwind. That's what I'm doing. If people are here to get famous, if people are here for their own ego, if they don't realize that this is a position of service, if they don't see that, then I don't know what they're doing. Because what are you doing? It's not about anything else. There's perks that come with this thing, but that's put on it. It's not what it is. What it is what I said it is. It is you have the ability to connect with people, and you have the ability to help people tell their own stories. Why wouldn't you just be happy that you can be that person? Because that's it. It's not about anything else. It's not.
Man, dude, I feel like taking that whole thing you just said and looping it and put it on my website for next year. It was so awesome. Like, I don't know who the best friend you've never met is, but you might be mine. Okay. Well, first of all, like I've actually done some stand-up. You know,
I know
I'd love
that.
to talk to.
I know that.
I'd love to see to see what you did and just to see it, because I know what you're talking about. I'm in there. You know, and like you're watching these other guys going, and you just feel like giving somebody a hug.
Yeah, like what happened to you, man?
And taking like an SOS pad to my own brain. It's like I'm starting to lose my will to live over here.
I realized something in 10th grade. The counselors came around. They were like, "You should know what you want to do for your life now. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna figure out what you want to do as a career." So here I am, looking at all the choices, and it's like multiple choice questions, and all these questions they ask you. It kind of gives you a profile of what your personality is and your strengths and weaknesses, and I'm looking at how I want everything to equal out to be like entertainer, but it's nowhere on this list. It doesn't even exist.
Right. It's two below unemployed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like you fail. So I'm looking at this thing, and I'm trying to make everything work its way out to be like fighter pilot or police officer. And I was doing it on purpose. And I realized why. Because I was watching like Top Gun and Lethal Weapon at the time. So I was,
sure.
It was not that I wanted to be a cop or wanted to be a pilot. Right. I wanted to play a cop. Right. And play a pilot, because I don't want to get shot at in real life. No, right. I don't want to do any of that stuff. It's like, people who do that, I have so much respect for. Right. Anybody who puts a badge on their chest, look.
Amen.
Good or bad, however things turn out, the intention of walking into that, and say, I'm going to help people. You have my respect. What you do with it is going to determine if you keep it.
Right.
But you have it when you walk in the door to do that.
Oh man, you just nailed. I always thought that about the military, because it's like because people are like, oh, he died and he was an American hero, or he was captured as an American hero. And in my mind, you're an American hero the minute you make that oath, because it could have happened to anybody in that room, and you just swore that you swore and you said, I'll be one of them.
I have a lot of respect for people who that's the service that they're bringing to the planet. Like, come on.
Well, now I see why everybody loves this. Like right now, all I want to do is to make a movie about a cop fighter pilot and cast you, but to see it all come full circle. So what happened from there? Like, when did you go, okay, I want to be a like?
So I started acting when I was 17, and I did it for about a year, and what was going on in the time that I was 1991. I was 17 years old, and that was a hot time for race relations. You know, the riots in LA kicked off. Oh, the Rodney King, all that stuff. Oh yeah, it all popped off around this time, and so the world it was hot. And back in '91, the stuff that I was auditioning for was so stereotypically horrible that I did not want to portray anybody like this. I didn't want to portray brothers like what I was reading. I just wouldn't do it. So I was going into auditions angry. I was literally walking in because, so first of all, you had people that couldn't write for me or anyone that looks like me. It was like someone's idea about what a black person would say. And it was driving me crazy. So I'd walk in and I'd be upset. And so here I am now using my I'll cut you. I got, it's like, it's a quick wit. So it can be dangerous. So here I am walking into auditions and asking people, they're like, any questions? I'm like, yeah. You want to tell me what this means? Because this doesn't make any sense at all.
All right.
Oh yeah, straight up. I was like, no black person on the planet would say any of this. Anyways, I really reached this point where I was like, I have to step away because I'm too angry to change anything. So I stepped away. 7 years, I did not act. Did everything
What did you
else.
do?
I worked with kids. I did my stand-up.
Right.
I built office furniture. I moved office furniture. I did a bunch of stuff.
Right, okay.
I was like Joe Job. I did everything.
Right.
It was great because it just helped me meet people and connect with new people. But I ended up coming back to acting because I realized that I wouldn't be able to change anything from the outside. Can't. What am I gonna do? And be the guy moving office furniture talking about that's not what black people say. I'm not in a position. I wasn't in a position to say anything. And I realized I have to affect change, but from the inside. I have to be on the ground. I have to deal with being the guy who doesn't have the experience. I have to build myself up to the point where people will listen. And so that's what the mission became. It became, okay, because I do love doing this. I love interacting with people, and I love, again, using whatever gifts I've been given to help, because that's how I see this. I just think we're helping. We're helping stories be told and people's positions be understood, and we're helping. It's like we're just all trying to make sense of it.
No. Oh my gosh, I just love it, man. The thing is, like when people talk about what's the most precious resource on the planet, and people say clean air, they'll say clean water. It's humans.
Yeah, it's us.
Humanity.
It's us.
Yeah.
It's us.
Yeah.
But we don't look at each other like that.
Right.
It's like, I noticed, I remember this so clearly. My mom passed in 97, and on the day she passed away, or the next day after she passed away, I woke up and I was like, the world's still moving. The news is still on, the garbage people are still doing, like the whole world kept on moving.
Right.
And for me, it like stopped, but I was like, whoa, no, there's a lot. We're a lot. There's so many moving parts. This can't grind to a halt. And that was the day I was like, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than us. It's all of us. It's the collective.
So if I'm following the math correctly, you went back into acting at 97, and then your mom passed.
She passed in 97, September.
Wow.
I didn't want to do much at all. Right. And kind of interesting because I had gotten back into acting. My older brother Richard, who's also an actor, and who was the guy who kept like coming at me saying, you should be an actor, and I was like, nah, man, I'm gonna be a stand-up comedian. That's what I want to do.
Right.
He had kind of kept coming at me to go to workshops and to go to like classes, and I kept kind of knocking it back. No, I don't want to do that. It's kind of interesting. I did not want to go to acting classes because I didn't want anybody messing with my head. I didn't want anybody, trying to dismantle me and put me back together. My whole thing was, and I still believe that it's you talk about someone being a hot mess. Well, put that person in front of the camera and give them lines to say. You know what you're gonna see? You're gonna see someone containing that hot mess, saying these words as another character, and it's gonna be so riveting to watch because they're not perfect, they're flawed, and all these things come up, and it's amazing. So I didn't want somebody to kind of like strip me of everything that I was walking around with, and then show up and I'm like some android basically.
Right.
I kept on resisting acting classes and workshops, and my brother was like, come on, you have to go. I listened, and something happened when I went to there's a class I went to in November of '97, and it was like the one thing that I wanted to do, and I didn't ever want to do class before. I never wanted to do class before, and finally, I don't know what it was. It was the one thing that got me out the door, and I knew, I don't know. It seemed to be like because of what had happened, and like a huge guiding force in my life, not being there with me physically anymore. I kind of was like, well, and this is how I look at everything when a loved one passes away. I just kind of go, well, I got a really great guardian angel, kind of helping me sort through this, who might be able to see things from another vantage point that I can't see. So I'm just going to kind of trust that this is the way I'm supposed to go, because I was really kind of like, which way should I go? Acting is the thing that got me out the door, and I definitely came back into acting. I approached it in such a different way. It was really, I think I had to be away from it to then appreciate how much it was a part of me. I had to kind of go through this really strange journey with it to then come back to it and really want to go after it. I don't know if this is an actor thing, it probably is, but it's like things happen to you in life and it's a part of you now. So it's not like it made me a better actor. It's just I was walking around like a different person. I just had a broader sense of love and loss, and I don't know. It just kind of informed a lot of stuff that I did. Just as having kids made me a better actor. It's because it's just life experience, and I've taught classes, and the thing I always told actors is, live your life. If you want us to put the lights and cameras on you and be interested, you have to live your life. You have to do something other than just like all you do is act, and you don't do anything else.
Right.
Well, there's nothing to you. It's like I was talking about Martin Cummings earlier. It's because Martin's lived life, to the fullest.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got stories, but like what?
No.
But that's the thing. When you put the camera on that guy and he stills it all down, and he's quiet and still, you're still like, what's going on? That's what makes an actor riveting. It's because they got all the actors that I love the most. They're not younger than me. They're all older. They're all older.
Yeah.
No,
and so I kind of have to wonder if there was a part of you that had so much sorrow with your mother that you're like, I'm gonna fill that. Like, did you see it drawn like with acting? I'm gonna pursue this because I got to find something that's gonna make me feel or find purpose.
it wasn't. I had known since I was about 8 years old that I was gonna be an entertainer. I knew that.
Right.
Which made school a very interesting situation because
Right.
I was like, and I did well in school. I was just bored. I was like, if you know from the time you're 8, 9 years old that what you're doing here is really not gonna assist you in what you're gonna do, it's kind of like, oh my God, when is this over? Kind of thing. Yeah, I knew that entertainment was the thing. I just didn't know which direction. I didn't know if it was pursue stand-up or pursue acting. And like I said, I knew I needed to lock in on one thing. But acting just kept coming back around. And like I said, it was the thing. It was the only thing that got me out the door with my mom. And then I just had a different sensibility after that. And it really, I guess it came through in the work. And it's like, once I got back into it, I've just never looked back. There's been ups and downs, obviously, but I don't know. It's just like, it was clear. It was clear after that.
Well, to look at your IMDb page is very impressive.
Oh, thank
and I
you.
don't know, and so I'm curious because the thing I'm fascinated by is, like, for example, you worked with Eddie Murphy, and I know that, and then I know that Eddie Murphy, from the stories you told, and I really want you to tell them again because it's awesome. So, but the real question is it's funny how your path leads you. Could you have done that had you not done the stand-up, right?
Right.
And the improv and the things you developed and
and
all that.
Working with Eddie. Okay, so first of all, that's That's my idol, like absolute idol in this business. That's the guy that I grew up just watching. I mean, I shouldn't even say watch, studying.
Right.
Everything I did. Just like there's a segment of the stand-up Raw where he talks about Richard Pryor, and he like imitates Richard Pryor because that's what he used to do when he first started doing stand-up. He just imitated Richard Pryor. He's like 14-year-old kid imitating Richard Pryor. That's what I did with him. The way I gesture, the way the speech pattern, the inflections, everything. It was Eddie. I'm doing it now. I can't stop.
Right.
Because Eddie always.
I see it. Yeah, I see it.
Eddie's, he's kind of uncomfortable in his own skin. So when we work together, there is a moment where I'm talking to him and he's talking to me, and then I realize, oh my God, I'm like gesturing just like this man. And so I like cross I'm doing everything like him because he was such. I studied this guy so much that it was incorporated into how I do what I do to the point where I don't recognize it. It's just who I am. And I was like, oh my God, he's gonna think I'm crazy. But I never spoke to him like a fan. There's like 1,000 questions I wanted to ask him about. All these different things that I had thought about. Nope, I left it all alone, and I just was like, I just have to approach him kind of like coming on the level that he's on. I can't be intimidated by this man, and I can't approach him like a super fan because it's gonna affect the work. It's just gonna be weird for him. Because everybody that meets him is just like, oh my God, like, and it's weird.
Right.
It's a strange thing.
Right.
I haven't felt that. I got a little taste of it hanging out with him for a second because we were at P&E filming, and it was my first day. It was our first day like back in Vancouver because we went to Budapest, and so here we are, and the people do. I know a lot of people doing background. I know a lot of the actors on set, and I'm just hanging out, and no one's really approaching me. And Eddie comes on the sound stage, and he comes over to me because we'd already met, we'd already worked together. He comes over to me, he's chatting with me for a second, and then he goes about his way. And after he left, I felt all these people coming in closer to talk to me now because they realized, oh, that guy, there's access. We kind of know him, but he knows Eddie, and it was the weirdest thing in the world. Like, the way celebrities are around people, regular people are trying to conjure up conversations so they can talk to them. They're trying, it's an unnatural segue, or if you stand beside Eddie Murphy and you both see a car accident, well, you got something to talk about.
Right.
You'd be like, oh my God, that was crazy. And he'd be like, oh, that was,
right.
Yes, you're here. But if he's standing here and you're standing here and you want to talk to him and you don't want to mention that you're a fan of his, there's nothing you can do.
Right.
It's just going to be a weird conversation.
Right.
And that's exactly what I felt in that moment. I realized, like, oh, this is what it feels like to be a celebrity. I was obviously not, but like I could feel it. And that what they feel is this interaction is false.
Right.
And it weirds them out.
Right.
Because it's just not real. Because they still get normal interaction with other celebrities, with other people that don't treat them that way. So I went out of my way. I'm like, I'm not gonna treat this man like my idol. And I think it went over really well because he trusted me to run with it. Like in comedic scenes, like the first thing he said to me when he met me, he was like, "You're real funny, man," because he had to approve my audition tape.
That had to be pretty huge.
That was like,
you know,
you can't tell me nothing.
I mean,
now.
These are all just people. But that's a little like Colonel Sanders saying, "You wouldn't believe the chicken I tried today."
You know what I'm saying?
You know,
like really, like wow, that's some good chicken. Like wow,
yeah. You're Colonel Sanders.
Yeah,
yeah.
It was. I remember that moment because it was when we met, and it's the first thing he said to me. They're like, Eddie, this is Viv. You know him from his audition tape, and he was like, yeah, you're funny, man. You're real funny. He was like, single tear.
Yeah. Could someone kill me?
Yeah, I'm good now.
Good time to die.
Yep.
I think it's just got downhill from here.
That's the whole thing. It's like, well, that was fun, kind of thing. And
right.
And we got it. There's one scene where it's our first kind of I shouldn't say it's our first. Yeah, it's kind of it's a group setting scene that we did, and I had a bunch of dialogue with him, and Eddie was throwing out ad libs,
Right.
time after time after time. And during the rehearsal process, I threw one back, and the director, Betty Thomas, I love her to death, but she was like, "Stick to the lines." I just heard this voice from Mike off camera, "Stick to the lines" for me, and it was just like, oh, so she kind of shut me down.
Right.
And it was just like, just leave it for Eddie. You don't have to. Okay. So here we are. We're doing the scene, and Eddie's throwing out ad libs after ad lib after ad lib for me, and I'm blocking them, bing, bing, just sticking to the lines, and it's killing me. And then finally, I was like, you know what? I don't care if I get fired. I don't care. So here we do the take, and he does his thing, and he ad libs, and I ad lib back. And he ad-libs back, and I ad-lib back, and he ad-libs back. And we took the scene, and we carried on for a good 30, 40 seconds of him, back, me, back, him, back, until I made him laugh. I broke him.
Nice.
I broke him. He started laughing, and then everybody fell out, and everybody started laughing, and director Betty came over, and she's like, okay, you can do your thing. But I had to earn it. But I had to do it. I had to not be this guy who's in Canada and from Canada and polite. And no, I had to just go for it.
Right.
I had to take a chance. And
Right on.
It all paid off because after that, it was just like, everybody's like, oh, you're so funny. And it's like you have to take a chance or no one's going to see you. And it was the scariest. It was scary, man. I was like, I'm gonna get fired. I'm gonna get fired right here. And instead, it was quite the opposite. And making him laugh is like, I'll put that on top of my resume. I made Eddie Murphy break. Like, I'll put that on very top of my resume.
I get. What year was that? Like when you made that?
2001.
So it was 4 years after when you got into it, and that was like your bachelor's. Like you had your 4-year degree.
Yes.
Right, and then you went, and then. And then he did it. See, to me, I have an admiration for actors anyway, and I'll tell you why. And you touched on it, because all of you are swinging for the fences.
Yep.
All of you are taking a chance. Nobody's going, I just want to,
just be safe.
I just want to barely make a living. Like everybody's got the dream.
Yeah. Yes.
And you're pursuing it.
Yes.
I love people that go for it. I love people that, like you're saying. And so really, it's only that one example of what you decided to do 4 years prior was to go for it. And in that moment, you were like, you know what? I've been going for 4 years. I'm not just going to not do this now.
Because how could I let this opportunity pass? He's the one.
Right.
Because my whole thing was, okay, Betty Thomas, Hill Street Blues, she's done a ton of stuff. She knows what she's doing. But there's something happening here between Eddie and me that she's not, she's concerned about him. As long as he looks good, fine. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter, right? But he's giving me stuff to elevate us all, and I'm just bing, bing, deflecting it, and then finally I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I can't get this from him, and then just deflect it. And it was all the better for it. I mean, we worked together for 4 months, and it was really great. And people were like, all I heard was horror stories. He won't do off-camera lines for you. He won't, like, all these things. He won't do this. He won't do that. Not true. I wish I had a cell phone with a camera on it back in the day.
Right.
Because Eddie Murphy sat in between two cameras on an Apple box doing off-camera lines for me.
Right.
And he had a stand-in that did all his stuff. And that was, everyone told me, you will not do, when it's your close-up, Eddie will be long gone. And it wasn't true. And Betty gave him the option. She's like, Eddie, you can go back to your trailer. And he's like, no, I'm gonna hang out. And she's like, no, Eddie, you can, Roger can jump in and do this with them. He's like, no, it's cool, I got it. And I was just like, oh my God. I had that image in my head of Eddie sitting very uncomfortably between two giant cameras on an Apple box. And it's just like, okay, here we go.
Right.
and yeah, that experience, while it didn't lead to, fame and fortune, as far as like me going to Hollywood and conquering, what it did was, it was, no matter what happened after that, the road, the bumps in the road and ups and downs, I always knew I could do it.
Right.
Because I did.
Yeah.
because I did something that I said I would do from the age of 8. I'm gonna work with that guy. That's what I wanted
I
to
didn't
do.
even know that. So that was like from the age of 8, it was like Eddie Murphy, and then you
Eddie
arrived.
Murphy.
Okay, because this is the question I love to ask, but I know the answer with you, is like, what was that one phone call that you got that you were like, this is it, I've arrived, it's happened? And if it wasn't that, then I don't know what it was. I mean, there may have been another one, but that must have been something else. When you knew it.
Yeah, that was the best phone call. That was the best phone call ever. Besides, honestly, my brother phoning me to tell me that he landed a lead on a series, and getting the phone call about my kids getting on this show with me, and then my other son Lennox, doing great things on set. But when you get those calls,
Right.
it's really cool. But when my brother got his show, there's this TV series called Doc with Billy Ray Cyrus, actually.
Yeah.
This was back in 2000. He was still there. When that happened, again, my brother and I are like each other's biggest fan.
Right.
And so when he got that, it was just like, it was like cool. My brother's good, and I can I'm just so proud of him, just so happy for him, and he's been working forever trying to get that series regular. That's the thing. And every actor's shooting for that. Like,
Right.
get that series regular, and he got it, and I was just like, so good. That was an amazing phone call. And then, like I said, when the kids got on When Calls, that was very cool.
Yeah, well, that's been, I mean, and again, it's been kind of a fun little sort of micro story to watch where you have your kids there, and then, and as a person of faith, I think the way that you portray Joseph is just phenomenal, as I know it's sort of coming from you too.
Thank you.
And everything, the thing that I don't even think I should have to point this out, but I just love it so much, is that I ask you, like, the phone call that would have been the obvious thing about Eddie Murphy. Next thing, I'm going to tell you about a phone call that you get from your brother about how he did well.
Yeah.
And a phone call about how your kids have done well. I mean, I don't know who your best friend is, obviously your wife, but is there an application process? Because, it's a rare thing. I've got friends like that when something good happens to me, they're really happy, but
Yeah.
sometimes people aren't.
There definitely was the reason why even saying that makes me so happy is because what you just said. Like, in this industry, there's a lot of people that aren't happy for you.
Right.
And and it could be a lot of your peers, and you end up, you run into people, and there's this thing ebbs and flows. Like, sometimes people are up, sometimes people are down, and it happens to everybody. It is sometimes hard to have a conversation with someone who is perhaps not doing as well as you might be, because the show, like, we were working through the pandemic, because my children got on the show, because this show is this juggernaut that keeps going and going and going. There are some folks out there that are not happy for your success, because it's not happening for them. So that's not a personal thing. It's just frustrating for them.
Right.
And it just reminds them, like, how much they want it, because
Right.
we all want it.
There's a human nature thing. Yeah.
We all want it. We're all, as actors in this town or any town, you can work when you can get on something that allows you to work. It's not like you can't just go out there and do it. You could just go out there and do it, but, like, you can't make a living that way. And so they're not being fulfilled artistically. And here comes somebody who's like, it all seems to be kind of coming together for, and I can tell when someone's genuinely happy for me, and when it's harder for them to kind of be like, oh yeah, you can tell right away.
Well, I hope you. I'm genuinely happy for it. In fact, I'm still trying to figure out how to do the pilot race car movie.
Let's do it.
Yeah, nothing would make me happier. So to follow your path here, so then you were at, let's see, 2001, I think. That was with the Eddie Murphy
Yes.
film. But then it was shortly after that, Kids, right? So if I followed the math here right.
Yeah, kids. Vienna was born in 2006.
Okay.
So in between. So after I Spy Again, I thought, this is the thing that's gonna launch me. I'm gonna be, you know, this guy. It goes to the next level. Everyone was talking about it before it came out, and then the movie just did okay.
Right.
And it was like, so you need to do all your moves off of the movie before it comes out, in case it's not well received, because the hype of it was better than the reception of it.
Right.
And so we made some moves and a couple things got lined up, but it was never ever on that level again. And it's kind of interesting because the way I define success now is very different than the way I defined success before my kids were born.
Right.
Because there was a decision to make. Go to LA, pursue this, you know, be away from my then girlfriend. We weren't married yet. Like, and go after this thing at the expense of our relationship, because that's what it felt like it was going to be.
Right.
Or you stay in town, you make sure home base is solid, and then we see what happens after that. And I chose to stay and focus on us and make sure that we were good, because so many things that, you know, from doing stand-up for so many years and like meeting comedians, they all had broken relationships and like marriages that were failing, and it was always some cost to this amazing thing that was going on.
Right.
And I was not willing to gamble with it, and so I stuck here and made sure we were good, and we got married, and we lived our life, even though it was like I had this other thing about, oh, we're gonna be on this level. We didn't get to that level of like, I don't know, maybe fame or whatever that thing is. We didn't get to that, but my riches are untouchable.
Right.
Because my relationship with my wife and my children and my family and my friends, forget about it. Like it's bigger and better than the I Spy call. It means that stuff doesn't mean anything if you don't have family or someone to share it with. I have amazing actor friends that, you know, they're single. They don't have anybody else in their life, and who they call to share this amazing news with is me. And it's like, no. No. You zigged when you should have zagged. And no, it's all about my family. That is what I'm doing here.
Right.
And from this, you know, anybody that's part of this stuff that we do, I think we all look at things the same way, you know, and we're all trying to do the same thing. We try to help people and reach people. I feel like that's what we're doing here. And like, you know, I don't know if there's a better show to land on to do this thing.
Yeah, and what's beautiful about it is you're not destroying your family by entertaining mine. You know,
That's what I'm saying.
Right? Yeah, and they're here. Yeah,
That's
and
what I'm saying.
you know, and then Kevin, your big fan, Kevin. Too. He said, I wish I could just play the clip, but what he said, roll the clip. Kevin loves this guy, but Kevin said that really he felt like that's where you become an adult when you have kids, because it's the time where you will love something more than yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, your big heart's popping out of your vest. I mean, I could see that right away.
Yeah.
You know, that's where it happened, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And like you say,
every actor especially, I don't know if I want to say they need to have kids, but they definitely need to love something or someone more than they love themselves. Like
You got to get yourself out of the way.
But the thing that's so important about what you do, two things I guess to conclude is how you inspire people to feel better and to live better. And that's the power of the medium. That's the power of your art.
Yeah.
Nothing inspires it. You know, you have movies. It's the most powerful art form God's ever allowed man to create.
Yes.
Where you will allow somebody for 90 minutes
Yep.
to forget they're in jail.
Exactly.
Right? Or whatever's going on. They're listening to Joseph Canfield.
You forgot you were in prison.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because of what you did. You can't do that with a painting.
No.
You can't do that with a sculpture.
No.
But you can take and alter the trajectory of a human being's life. In some ways, probably yours was too, right?
Yeah. Vienna actually got a message on Instagram from a college student who, this is crazy. This kills me. She did a test and she didn't do well. And she had the option of like doing the test again or just walking away. And something Vienna said in an interview about something that my wife and I instill in the kids is you have to try. Because when, like I said, when I brought her the audition for When Calls, she said no before she tried it. And the thing that we said is, rule number one is you have to try. If you want to say you don't want to do something, you can only say that after you've tried it. You can't say it before.
Right.
You have to try it, and then you'll believe your informed decision, not you just don't feel like it. And so she told that story in the interview. This person saw this and used that to talk herself into going after this test and doing it again, and she rocked it. And she left a message for Vienna, and Vienna was in tears. And I said, that's why we do this.
Bring it on.
That's why we do this.
Right on. Give me an application. Yeah. Well, thanks again. Thanks for doing what you do. I just think
Thank you.
now, I appreciate that. And it's like, let's go get some more seasons. But I do think that there's so much out there that isn't inspiring life to be lived. And this is one of the few shows out there that's really trying to. It's hard to comp.
Yeah, there's not a lot of stuff, man, that's just gonna be like, that's gonna remind us of when we were kids. Just like you can put on any program, just man, no problem. Yeah, your kids were gonna learn something, you're gonna learn something, and it was gonna be, safe space kind of thing. And I'm glad we have that. I'm glad it still exists.
And you know what? You seem like a healthy guy. I'm gonna give you 90 laps around the sun. And after that, you check out, and people are going to look and go, what did I do? And if nothing else, you'll be able to point at this, and because this changed lives. Because if nothing else, even with me, Joseph Canfield said, you know what, I'm going to put my work down. I'm going to spend more time with my kids. So that's me from you. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, brother.
All right.
Appreciate it.
You bet. I just can't say enough about Viv. I can't say enough about his family. They're just terrific people. I know, like, when you guys watch the interviews, you're wondering, well, is that real? Like, is that how they are? Honestly, they're actually cooler than their characters they play. I mean, no offense to the writers, but I love the Leacocks. They're amazing. But anyway, that concludes our episode today. Don't forget, you can find all things When Calls the Heart at whencallstheheart.com. And we'll see you guys next time on The Edify Show.
Tune in next week for Hearties TV Tuesday. Elliott will be interviewing Andrea Brooks on the set of When Calls the Heart. You won't want to miss it. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube page. And never miss a thing when you register at hearties.com, where people around the world are coming together to support inspiring entertainment. And we'll see you next week on The Edify Show.